Well, we're now going to move through to our next panel, where we're going to actually showcase some of the companies that have moved to Abu Dhabi and the experiences that they've had. And the next panel is entitled Engineering the Future of Health in Abu Dhabi. Of course, in Abu Dhabi, healthcare innovation is built on clarity, collaboration, and confidence. Regulators, investors, and innovators are working in unison to turn that scientific insight into scalable opportunity. So we're going to look now and uncover how this integrated ecosystem is powering the future of global health investments. So it's just remained for me to invite my panelists to the stage today. And we have Dr. George Haber. He is the CEO of Cleveland Clinic. If you'd like to come up to the stage, Dr. Haber. Lovely to see you. And Jim Mellon from Juvenessence, the Deputy Chairman. Welcome, Jim. And finally, we have Dimitris Moulavasilis, the Group CEO of M42. Lovely to see you again. So take a seat, gentlemen. So, of course, we've talked about many different sectors, but healthcare is pretty fundamental to the vision within Abu Dhabi and everything that's taking place at the moment. But there's another, we were talking about megatrends, Jim, there, and one of them is longevity. And of course, the interest in that, I guess it's a no-brainer. But I'm interested from your perspective with Juvenescence, how healthcare systems worldwide, including Abu Dhabi, are actually embedding that into their mainstream healthcare services, rather than just being a kind of sidebar.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry.
Give you a microphone.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you for having me here today. Longevity is not just a sort of aspiration, it's a kind of nice one to have. It's actually, as described by a very good friend of mine, Andrew Scott, it's an imperative. Because the world is definitely getting older. And as a result, you're getting a lot of people who are elderly in poor health. And it's placing unsustainable burdens on healthcare systems. So let's just put Abu Dhabi in the context of that. At the moment, Abu Dhabi has a really good situation where less than 2% of its population is over 65 years old. In the UK, we're close to 20% of the population over 65 years old. Abu Dhabi, as a result of its low sort of elderly population, only spends 4.6% of its GDP on healthcare. In the UK, we spend 11%, and in the United States, they spend nearly 20% of GDP on healthcare. Abu Dhabi, in my opinion, and we've got two leading experts on the Abu Dhabi healthcare system on either side of me, has recognized this situation. Whereas here in the UK, we haven't recognized it sufficiently. Something needs to be done to expand human health span. That means years of healthy living, because we're all getting older, and a lot of us are in a poor condition with comorbidities ranging from heart disease to cancers to obesity and diabetes as a result of getting older. And so expanding health span through preventative medicine and through the development of new medicines is an absolute imperative. And if we don't do that, then you're going to end up, we are going to end up with most of the economy being devoted to paying for elderly care and ratios of the population being completely unimaginable in the current context. So for instance, at the current rate, 50% of the G7 population will be over 65 years old by the year 2070. And already you've got some countries where the old age population is huge. So in Japan, it's nearly a third of the population are over 65. We do need to do something to expand health span. Abu Dhabi is an integral part of that. It's got an advantage over the developed West. It's also got a very long life expectancy, 2 years longer than here in the United Kingdom and 5 years longer than in the United States. So it has every opportunity to circumvent those problems that we have in the West. And I'm very, very pleased that we're working with M42 to do some of that.
So yes, I want to bring Dimitris in on this because the ecosystem is developing and that's its pace. So in terms of for people in the room, perhaps, what does that look like, that ecosystem, and why is it working?
So thank you very much, Sarah, for having me. I have experienced Abu Dhabi the last year. I'm deeply impressed. I think I have 33 years of healthcare experience. I think this is a truly unique, globally integrated health ecosystem where you see the policies, the providers, and the government aligned to transform how care will be delivered. I think it has some key features which are quite unique. First and foremost, there is a forward-thinking regulator. The Department of Health today is always ready to adopt the new care delivery model, which makes care more accessible, sustainable, personalized. It's a system that has a national level data infrastructure which is unique. We have the Malafi Health Information Exchange System, which collects data from all the private and the public sector, and they are used to try new real-world solutions in the care setting. We have a national-scale data sets like the Emirati Genome Program. We have sequenced so far more than 870,000 genomes, and now we're using this data in combination with phenotypic data and environmental data to drive prevention, precision, and prediction in the way we deliver care. You have infrastructure, you have pipelines, we are scaling startups like Hub71. The colleagues are here today that they are helping newcomers to Abu Dhabi to be contacted with the government, with partners, with providers like us, collaborate. And finally, you have a clear regulation, clear direction. We have heard the chairman of the Abu Dhabi Investment Office. Abu Dhabi is being diversified. It is becoming a hub of healthcare and life sciences. We see companies moving there, R&D, headquarters, and manufacturing. I think this is how the ecosystem looks like, and I think this is a truly unique place for all the innovative new firms that they can come, collaborate, and really thrive in this ecosystem and take all this innovation to the world.
And you made a really interesting point there about the genomics program and indeed the exporting of that research and health as well. So we'll dig down on that in a minute because I think that's important. Again, this kind of hub mentality. But Dr. Haber, bringing in and building on what Dimitris said there, for you, what have been the enablers to make the ecosystem, the health ecosystem in Abu Dhabi work?
You know, I mean, the most interesting thing when we look at Abu Dhabi healthcare system, it was deliberately built to be a collaborative environment, not a competitive environment. It is not a collection of different institutions that are brought to the country to compete against each other. They were brought to work together. And as Dimitris said, all this is being facilitated by the Department of Health, who is a partner in this integration. Almost the Department of Health plays the role of a coordinator for innovation. And the way they are doing this is by also leveraging technology. To give you an example, the way they integrated all those different healthcare systems is by creating what Dimitri mentioned, Malafi, which is a unified electronic medical record. So all those institutions across Abu Dhabi can be connected. They know what the patients have, but also this data can be leveraged to develop new drugs, to predict what the patient's health is going to look in the future, how we can improve their health span. How can we connect it to the Emirati genome? Now not only we have phenotype data, we have genotype data. In addition to this, we can have claims data. So just imagine the potential that exists just by getting all those institutions to work together, not against each other.
And I think it's worth, again, talking about something we mentioned with Aravind, which is regulation, because sometimes people are in the perception that when things move quickly, that maybe things are done quickly and maybe the research isn't there. But of course, patient safety is always absolutely paramount. So that's kind of embedded at the bottom of that innovation. It's not just for innovation's sake.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I worked in Cleveland Clinic, Ohio for over 22 years. If I want to call the FDA, it would take me 12 months to get an appointment. I can pick up the phone right now and I can call the Chairman of the Department of Health, and I assure you I can pick up my phone now. I call him, he will answer me. Okay, but what's...
Is it the ability to have a conversation rather than being regulated to? Do you see what I'm saying? You can have that conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I think the regulator in the country recognized that healthcare is not just a service. It is a sector that is there for strategic growth. They know that they can make an impact. The way the infrastructure is built, no other country in the world has built an infrastructure like this, that built on data. And they know that by investing and aligning policy with capital, they can move the needle forward. Speed doesn't mean we're compromising quality and safety. It's the opposite. That, innovation is about speed, it's about change, but that doesn't mean it comes at the expense of quality and safety. And I can give you a quick example. We're the first country, Abu Dhabi, that was allowed to open the Neuralink trial outside of North America. And we're able to do this by sitting at the table together, Neuralink, the Department of Health, and Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, to review all the safety measures that are needed. And there was no compromise. And us, as also a US healthcare system, we do not compromise on quality and safety at all. And the DOH is a perfect partner of this. We can move fast with zero compromise on quality. In fact, it's the opposite. The quality is improved by this collaboration and this partnership.
And you're next door as well to here.
Yes,
and, of course,
we're 100
you're a
feet.
global group,
but,
so there's high standards to be held there, presumably.
Absolutely. I mean, we like to say that the quality you get at Cleveland Clinic is independent from its location. You can go to Ohio, Florida, Toronto, London, Abu Dhabi, anywhere. You will have exactly the same quality. That being said, I'm a little bit biased. I can tell you that just looking at the data, when we look at, for example, our kidney transplant data, our outcomes, our 1-year graft survival in Abu Dhabi is better than Ohio. And Ohio is the #1 program in the US.
Oh, interesting.
Epilepsy surgery, the results are better in Abu Dhabi compared to Ohio. When we look at our cardiac program, for example, and I don't want to turn this into marketing and competing against my HSBC friend here, but
we'll allow you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, no, because I'm very proud of this, right? I'm very proud that we are able to bring quality of care 12,000 miles away from Ohio that is setting the benchmark now across the globe. And we couldn't be able to do this without the support of the Department of Health and the vision of the leaders of this country that really put capital behind policies.
And I guess it's this integrated nature that makes it, the part bigger than the whole as such. And Jim, I wanted to bring you in on that because you are a case study of a company that's moved to Abu Dhabi. And what is it that's kind of attracted? Why is it such an attractive hub for global capital? I mean, what was on your tick list, for example, when you were making that decision?
Well, first of all,
Sunshine.
the Cleveland Clinic, of which I'm a patient, was one of the factors. And it's an outstanding institution, really amazing. Definitely worth checking in there. I'm sure London's very good as well, but
Not as good.
George has done well, comparable.
I hope Rob Lorenz is not in the room here, the CEO of London.
We don't want to see you, but if we should need to, then we will.
Okay. Meeting with him
With the
afterwards.
greatest of respects, yeah.
Sarah, the team at Juvenessence have been responsible for 2 blockbuster drugs in the last 10 years, one of which is the world's leading prostate cancer drug and is owned by Pfizer. And the other one is the world's leading migraine drug, which is also now owned by Pfizer. So they know how to develop drugs, and they have identified, I'm just a non-executive there, they engaged in discussions with Dimitris and the team at M42, and they saw that they had very strong synergies. The biobank, 850,000, maybe more now, 870,000 you were saying, Dimitris, genomes being sequenced is more than the 500,000 in the United Kingdom, which used to be the sort of gold standard for that. The embedding of AI at every level is something that's very important to us and very important to you. And I will say with certainty, as much as I can, that in the next 10 years, a blockbuster drug comparable to the two that we were involved with will be developed in Abu Dhabi, and it will have something to do with aging. Now, let me just say that there is no golden sort of thing for aging. There's no silver bullet that we can all take that's going to stop us from getting decrepit. But there is an iterative process that's accelerating. So today, the GLP-1 agonists are the first truly anti-aging drugs in the world. I think you would agree with that. And they should be in the water because they are cardioprotective, neuroprotective, obesity protective, diabetes protective. They will extend health span and possibly lifespan. And there are new versions of that, oral and injectables, that are coming down the line which don't cause muscle wastage and so forth. That is a sector that has really mushroomed in the last 2 or 3 years, and vast industries have been created as a result of that. There will be other drugs similar to that. And we can talk about this later on, a couple of things that we're doing in conjunction with M42, which I think will also be revolutionary. So there are already anti-aging drugs out there, but no one has got the money or the capability or the time to develop anti-aging drugs in isolation of specific illnesses. So you first of all develop a drug for a specific illness, and then using AI and other techniques, you work out whether it might have an anti-aging or a health span increasing potential. Because no one can wait around for 30 or 40 or 50 years to see if a drug has anti-aging properties. So everything has a specific target applied to it. And Abu Dhabi understands that. It has a vision, and it also has, as I mentioned earlier on, this unique situation where it knows that it's going to have an aging population 20 or 30 years hence. A very high percentage of people will be over 65 in Abu Dhabi, as they are in Western and Asian countries by then. It has the capability now of doing something about the fact that those people will not be in ill health at that point, or a lot of them will not be in ill health at that point, will be productive members of society, and will carry on working till 75, 80, 85, or even 90, which is what we are all going to have to do, because no pension scheme currently written is capable of looking after the population as it ages so rapidly at the moment.
Now you're scaring everyone. But that's okay. Sometimes we need to be woken up to these things. But I want to build on what you said, because in another life, believe it or not, I used to be a pharmaceutical analyst as well in the City of London, right just down the road here. And of course, back then, and it's still the case now, we saw it with COVID, the speed at which a drug can be developed is obviously quick, and unfortunately it was through COVID, but we did see the speed at which something could come to market and be used. So Dimitris, presumably, from what Jim's saying there, the timelines with AI, are they increasing the speed at which new drugs are developed?
I think AI will significantly reduce the speed needed to develop drugs. We have seen this with Moderna, with COVID. I think we're going to see many, many breakthroughs the few years to come. And I think Abu Dhabi is the place, as AI is used extensively in drug discovery, and there's an alignment, as I said before, in the ecosystem in this direction. Allow me to say, maybe to build in what Jim and George said, that if we go a level up, I think there's a shared vision of how to move from what is today a reactive episodic care to a continuous, data-driven, predictive, precise, and preventive care. I mean, today we have a checkup once a year, so it's like to take a photograph once a year and say, hey, this is how we look. Try to think of a future that we have wearables that track all our data during 24/7. We have our genome sequenced, and we know our key risks. And we combine that with phenotypic data, and we use AI models, which are coaching us to every stage of our lives on how to be healthy. Some of us, we have today these wearables that they are coaching our lifestyle. Try to imagine that we will be coached on the way to be healthy, and this is going to happen now. And I think this is critical in Abu Dhabi. This is how we use AI technology. And this is, I think, the first step to longevity, by predicting the diseases which are predictable. And beyond that is how you may introduce novel drugs that takes the step further. There are so many quick wins that we are deploying today in the region.
Yeah, and you don't often get a quick win in healthcare, you know, so as you said, it's interesting to go for that low-hanging fruit. And we've talked about the end game, which is the drugs that come there. But also I'd like to bring Dr. Haber in there, and again, I'm sure you both have something to add to this, and that's the early detection system, the use of course technology, but the ecosystem being so joined up. And how early detection is really, the preventative side is really blossoming in Abu Dhabi, and again, something that could be exported globally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when we talk about longevity and prevention and screening, I wanna say that you have screening is the second level of prevention, right? The first level of prevention is like you have a better diet, you don't develop cancer. The second kind of prevention is early screening, and this is how you can make sure you diagnose cancer at an early stage to treat them. And a lot of advances have been done across the world, but specifically in Abu Dhabi. The way we're leveraging the whole genome sequencing data to be able to predict the risk of cancer and bringing patients early, for example, for mammograms, right? Across the world, patients start getting mammograms at 40 years old or 45. In Abu Dhabi, it's 35 because they found out that there is, you know, patients at a younger age are developing cancers. You see how they're leveraging the data and the genetic data and kind of interrogating the sequencing data to be able to predict which patients are at higher risk. So risk stratification of patients. The second thing, how we're leveraging AI to do, for example, so it's still a little bit controversial, but full body MRIs. Full body MRIs can take between 60 to 90 minutes. Leveraging AI, we can do it now, 23 minutes. So you can see how we can accelerate, you know, early detection. Then we start looking at blood tests and the multi-cancer detection tests, right? That such as GRAIL, ClearNote, and so on. There is like 50 different blood tests that we can do. And so using the Emirati genome to risk stratify those patients, do the multi-cancer detection test using blood test, and then full body MRI, you can see how you can diagnose now patients at a very early stage and improve prevention, secondary prevention, and increase health span and longevity. This is how we're leveraging the data in Abu Dhabi, and I'm not aware of any other place in the world that is doing this. It's not about being first. We're not chasing to be first, but we're chasing to be impactful and scalable.
And Dimitris, from your perspective, you know, great summary there from Dr. Haber. I mean, I know you all work very closely. From your end, this preventative and this use of data, is that something you haven't seen before? As I keep going back to this joined-up approach, but I just think it's so relevant.
Definitely not at this scale, Sarah. If I will build on what George said, today, as M42 will launch a series of programs. We have the pharmacogenomics program based on the data where patients know what sort of drug and in what dose it's good for them. This is the only place that this is being prescribed freely in the planet, to the best of my knowledge. All have newborn and premarital screening programs to try to detect diseases before they happen. We have examples of a lady, we had a RET mutation, which would have led to a thyroid cancer. There was a preventive operation, and then she saved the cancer all the way, or a young child which has another mutation, which would lead in a progressive blindness. Again, there was gene therapy, and the young girl was cured. So you have all these examples, and then you have examples how we use AI also to predict conditions. For example, in the dialysis space, we have today machine learning models that can predict conditions like the thrombosis of a fistula before it happens, which drives longevity to all the dialysis patients. So I think the overall message is that the availability of data, the alignment of the regulator who is willing to launch population programs of this kind, and the enabling of the AI solutions is what makes Abu Dhabi Care unique today. And we're exporting this globally. Maybe for the benefit of the audience, let me say that M42 is an Abu Dhabi-based company, but today we operate 480 facilities in 27 countries globally, 30 facilities in Abu Dhabi. We are technically a global company, and many of these innovations, we are exporting them and deploying them today in the world. As we speak today, every minute, 31 medical KPIs from every dialysis patients are being aggregated from every place in the planet. They are coming to my mobile, and we have all the models that they are being continuously improved and adjusted on this data. And on top of that, I see that many other countries are following our example. Today, on the back of the success of the Emirati Genome Program, we have many countries that they are copying this program. We are working closely with Uzbekistan on their own population genome program. We discuss with many countries in Europe and Global South. Or, for example, the health information exchange infrastructure is now being implemented by us in Jordan. And Jordan soon will have one of the best digitalized healthcare systems globally. I think there's a lot of innovation in Abu Dhabi, and I'm very proud to say that M42 is a carrier of this, many of these initiatives, and many of these initiatives we are taking them now globally.
Yeah, and this really adds to that context of an export hub just not being investment flows, but being that full circle of depth of knowledge as well, and knowledge sharing outwards, not just inwards.
Correct.
Robotics kind of terrifies me when I think about robots operating on me. Maybe I'm being old-fashioned, but it's definitely something that the UAE, again, like many things we've been hearing this morning, embraced maybe ahead of other jurisdictions. Talk us through what that looks like and the future of robotics, because again, something that maybe this kind of system allows to progress more quickly.
So I'm a robotic surgeon. That's my area of expertise. I still practice, so I'm a urologist by training. So if you know anyone with prostate cancer, kidney cancer, you want to have good health care, just let me know. I'll be happy to help. That being said, robotics, as we know it until now, is a kind of a master-slave type of system. What I mean by this is any moves that are done by the surgeons, any moves outside of the patients on the joysticks are reproduced inside of the abdomen of the patient. So if I move my wrist, the instrument will move inside. None of those moves are automated. That's how it is right now. However, now that we have AI, we are at a crossroads where we are going to start seeing automated surgery. And I don't know if some of you have seen, there was a demonstration of a cholecystectomy, it's mean removal of a gallbladder on a pig that was fully done automatically by the robot without human intervention. So what does that mean, and why is this important? Right now, less than 20% of the population have access to robotic surgery. It's expensive. There is not enough surgeons that are trained to perform it, and so on. By being able to automate robotic surgery, now we can democratize surgery and improve access to a lot of patients who otherwise wouldn't have access to minimally invasive surgery and being able to be treated and cured from cancer. So this is a huge development. It is going to revolutionize surgery, revolutionize healthcare, especially in countries that until now don't have good access to care.
So I kind of want to build on that forward-looking thought there of robotics and really look at predictions for the next 20 years, no pressure. And maybe as we close out, we've got a couple of minutes, what do you think is going to perhaps within Abu Dhabi be the next big thing that you're working on, and kind of globally the impact of that? And maybe, Dimitris, I'll start with you at the end, and we'll work our way back to Dr. Haber.
I think from my end is an AI native agentic care that makes sure to capture your risk and treat you before the disease happens. I think this is something that will be feasible to see in Abu Dhabi in the next few years in many conditions.
And Jim?
Well, you talked about robotics, and I'm absolutely with you, but robots have more applications in medicine beyond surgery, because robots will be looking after old people. They'll be hoisting them, they'll be turning them over, they'll be stopping them from getting bed sores, there'll be companions and so forth. And there will be more robots on the planet by 2050 than there are people. It's going to be an enormous industry, and it's actually one that Abu Dhabi could be a world leader in. I mentioned earlier, I think Abu Dhabi will also be part of a collaboration that will develop a blockbuster drug, probably related to something to do with health span and longevity in the next 10 years, and that will be world-changing. Most of the blockbuster drugs have been developed in the US or Europe in the past, but that is changing very rapidly now. And all sorts of great vistas are open to us. So for instance, at the moment, we are in patients in the United States in a phase 2 trial where we are regrowing livers inside the body, brand new livers in patients with liver failure. And that will one day apply to other organs, including the thymus, the kidney, possibly the pancreas, and so forth. That's in a phase 2 trial in the United States underway at the moment, and no one's died, and they've been treated for 9 months now. This is super, super exciting, because if you can replace body parts as if they were parts of a classic car, then you're part of the way towards improving health span and ultimately lifespan. So this is the greatest time ever to be alive, and Abu Dhabi is right at the forefront of it.
Dr. Haber, I'll give you the final word.
Sure. I'm just going to say that just a few months ago, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi. The vision first was to bring world-class care to the region. What happened 10 years later, not only patients are not traveling abroad, they're getting world-class care in Abu Dhabi, but patients are traveling from across the globe to Abu Dhabi to get their care. And they can get access to care within 2 days. If it's more than 2 days, they usually get a call, people are upset. How long is it in London? 6 months, 7 months. But this is not it. I think the next 10 years is all about innovation. And Abu Dhabi is becoming the hub for innovation. I'm just going to repeat what our chair of the board of the whole Cleveland Clinic said, is Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi is becoming the incubator for the rest of the enterprise, but also for the globe. And that's what Abu Dhabi is going to be, an incubator for healthcare innovation for the rest of the globe. And I hope you will invite me in 10 years, and you mark my words.
I will certainly hold you to account, and obviously I'll come to the Cleveland, so hopefully I'm still around. But meanwhile, on a more lighted-hearted note, I noticed there's a lot of aura rings going on here. Dr. Haber, I think you and I, maybe we need to get on board with this trend. I've got the old Apple Watch, but
I used to have a Whoop, but it keeps telling me I'm sleep deprived, so I'm like, wish I knew it. So.
I'm a doctor, yeah. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for indeed all of that information that you shared with us today. Dr. Haber, Jim, and Dimitris, thank you so much for your time today. And maybe we better pop along to the shops and get that ring. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. And thank you, of course, to all our speakers from the last 2 panels for sharing how Abu Dhabi is unlocking global growth for both the healthcare sector through agile policy, world-class infrastructure, and investor-first solutions.